Thank you, Carrie. I'm here today because our rights are about to be eroded. They are being currently eroded. They are about to dissipate completely. Parental rights, faith-based rights, parental rights. But I want to talk briefly about women's rights. SOGI, one of the basic principles of SOGI 123 is that girls in schools, in the change rooms, in the showers, and in the bathrooms no longer will have the right to set their personal boundaries around their own bodies. This is not only reprehensible, not only is this the height of illogic, but consider this, that recently at the BCTF annual conference that they made a resolution that they support the Me Too movement, which I think has brought great good in general, with a heightened understanding of women's rights not to be sexually harassed. But at the same time, as they are stating that we want our women teachers, we want our girls in the schools to be free from sexual harassment, that they are saying that girls will have to share their change rooms and their showers with males who identify as women. This is something that our province has not yet heard clearly is within the SOGI 123 basic principles. And when our province awakes to the reality of the removal of the basic bodily privacy rights of our daughters in moments where they are the most vulnerable, unclothed in their private spaces, you bet that there are going to be hundreds of thousands and millions of those people in BC, citizens who are going to stand up and say, "Not my daughter." But SOGI 123 also greatly harms children by teaching them from the earliest grades that boys can become girls and girls can become boys. It is based on an ideology that believes that male and female are completely interchangeable. Let me say this to you, that if male and female are completely interchangeable, what it means is that there is nothing inherently good about girls and there is nothing inherently good about boys, that there is nothing inherently good about men, that there is nothing inherently good about women. Listen, one of the scariest graphics that I have ever seen from the SOGI 123 set of videos is a teaching video which shows that a group of primary schoolers being taught with SOGI ideology, gender identity. And in this class, we don't know how long the class took. Maybe it was a half-hour class, maybe it was a 2-hour class, we don't know. But at the end of the class, this video shows that the teacher wrote 3 lines on the board. The first line represented, it said gender biology. And they put the symbols for female on one end and male on the other. And then the kids were instructed to put where they lay on that line. And these kids, of course, knowing their own biology, put them where they ought at opposite ends. The second line said gender expression, and they had just been taught that kids can dress how they want, that boys can wear dresses, girls can wear whatever they want, and so then, as you might expect, a lot of these kids are putting their names in the middle of how they express their gender just after one class. But the scariest part of this picture in this video was the last line. The last line said gender identity. And on one side it had female, and the other side it had male. And those kids, after just one class of indoctrination, I will call it brainwashing, put their names not on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but in the middle. After one class, these primary schoolers were no longer identifying as male and female. And so, many of these kids will be led down a path that leads to lifelong medicalization, to sterilization, and to mutilation. And our province and the BCTF are presiding over this reprehensible state. And so I call on the BCTF and I call on our Ministry of Education to put a stop to something that is clearly ideological. It is not evidence-based. The evidence states that 80 to 90% of these kids that struggle with dysphoria, and I care about them. I love them. I'm concerned about them. And this is why the data is so clear that 80 to 90% of these kids, once they go through puberty, that this dysphoria will remit and they will settle into their natal sex. People don't understand, how is it that we have forgotten that childhood and adolescence is a developmental stage? What does a prepubertal boy or girl know about being a man or a woman? Especially when we haven't taught them what it is like to be a man and a woman. And so it is important that we stand up for the rights of the future generations. Listen, the medical community at key times has faltered along the way when it comes to things like the eugenics craze or the lobotomy craze that has happened not that long ago, and once again hijacked by a political and ideological pressures. Once again, much of our world is putting stock in something that does not have a medical or scientific basis. And again, in 20 or 30 years, I hope it's sooner than that, I hope it's 10, there will be multi-million-dollar lawsuits as kids understand what has been done to them, the innocence that has been taken from them, the sexuality that has been taken from them, the right to have children that has been taken from them. SOGI 123 is anti-woman. It is anti-family. It is anti-parental rights. It is anti-evidence. And it is anti-free speech. Let's make sure we put a stop to it. Thank you.